Hi, I'm Gary, and this is my audience. It was only a short while ago that North Korea had released that they were going to bomb the U.S. We're far from over. We're far from over from this ongoing threat to our nation. As Brad Linden from CNN says, North Korea is creating standardized warheads from outsiders, worried that is going to make headway in its push to develop small, sophisticated warheads that can reach the U.S. and the outside territories of U.S. bases like Guam, Japan, and South Korea. On September 13th, 2016, U.S. B-1B Air Force bombers soared through South Korea, showing a sign of force and pride that our nation has after a nuclear test by the North. Many of our allies are applying heavier security, but the U.S. is still responsible for most of their safety. It is our goal to regain stability with North Korea and strengthen our alliance to avoid any aggressive behavior. Understanding the threats against the U.S. is the first step in realizing that we live in a world where we have over 28,000 troops in South Korea alone, and tens of thousands more in Japan. Al Araizai, a news report states that the obvious saying, nobody wants to think about the possibility of being taken over, and some even question if it is possible. If they question, you think, about the potential outcomes in life in general. This matters because a lot of us don't think about the possibilities of what might be, and we're too busy with our daily lives to be grateful for what we have now. The United States and allies have done everything in their power to keep us safe. All we can do is appreciate what they have done and what they continue to do for us, not allowing North Korea to take the power they strongly desire. In order to understand the motives of the U.S. and allies, we must first understand what happened that put us in the position, while we also must understand what needs to be done in terms of our best interest concerning the casualties and our allies. We must learn what needs to be done for our future as well. It is highly important to take a look at what got us in the situation in the first place and why North Korea is acting in such harsh manners. It is important to first understand that it has been a long argument between the U.S. and allies. In North Korea, we all remember the first big threat on September 15th of 2015. It was this day when Jethro Mullen of CNN spoke about what North Korea had to say about us, saying North Korea says that they're ready to use nuclear weapons against the United States and our allies if they pursue their reckless, hostile policy toward Kim Jong-un's regime. Now we can all agree that we would probably never fully know the true story, but it seems that the U.S. is blaming North Korea for all the issues, while North Korea is blaming us and our allies. North Korea they're the first ones to make threats against us and to point their weapons in that regard. Now that we understand the sense of how all this begun, we're going to discuss what needs to be done in terms of our best interests as a nation. The fact that North Korea is testing a major nuclear weapon just goes to show the real threat. The question should be asked is, what are we and our allies doing to question the ethics of North Korea, and what are we doing for this test? The test is not beneficial, or it does not represent peace in any way. At this point, it will be noble to backtrack and prevent the situation from breaking out even further. North Korea's North Korea's news station notified that their anger quickly growing, and it's hard to tell what would be done if our nation was tested. Would a drastic decision be made to point the missiles at us and finally fire, or are we able to contain them? It seems that North Korea is ticking time bomb, as James Pearson, an interviewer from Seoul Times, says that China has actually urged the U.S. and allies to end tensions with North Korea. He continues by speaking, the foreign ministry spokesperson, the Chinese government, by saying that it's no one's interest to cause harm to another nation. We must now reanalyze the situation and develop a strategy to calmly end the threats of North Korea. Now that North Korea has perfected their most powerful nuclear test in history, the U.S. has a few questions to ask and decisions to make. It is just to make a statement allowing our jets to fly over South Korean territory. It's kind of us taking action, and it appears the U.S. is laying back and trying to cause no further issue, that is. Especially when you have a nation like North Korea, whose sense has no filter. The only thing that is certain is that the U.S. and allies are taking whatever steps necessary to make sure the North does not do any harm to any of us or our allied nations. It's no surprise that the tests have showed great disapproval by surrounding nations, as the North sees no consequences for their actions. Elise Hu from NPR says that these issues do nothing but strengthen Kim Jong-un's motive. It is important to understand the crisis we are in with North Korea. Although we may not know the full story, it is important to recognize that our nation and our troops are doing everything they can to keep our nation safe. In order to understand the importance of the ongoing battle with North Korea, it's important to remember how we got involved, how we are handling the situation, and what we plan to do in the future of keeping stability within all the surrounding nations. It is important to remember the things that we must conquer in order to maintain stability, while we must trust our government and take care of us the way they should. North Korea's major. The real question is North Korea a major threat? Although it may seem that they're in control of the battle, it's been at a standstill for years and shows no future in expanding. This is my audience.